All right, everybody, here's the video or the recording going over the test itself. All right, so I can't give you, I know you'd like me to, give you exactly what the questions are and stuff like that. But I'm going to try to do my best, as I usually do, trying to get you prepared for it. So some of the questions you need to know about mass media, the goals of media. You need to focus on the goals. I'm going to go through this a little bit quick because you can stop and start this. How media makes their money. We talked about that. How does media, and I can address this tomorrow if you need to, like how does media affect political campaigning? Again, I think we already kind of know this. Media affects political campaigning because it's used in political campaigns, and that's why things are so expensive, because of all the TV commercials and stuff like that. The different types of media, obviously we talked about that today. Print, TV, radio, and then finally internet, which is by far the biggest. How people use those types of medias. How do they I'm sorry, I'm just having a brain fart just trying to explain this to you. How do people use media? How do they use the internet? Stuff like that to get information. How does the media and the government interact with each other? We've talked about this, like with the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission. The ease of information, like I said, the types of media. Let's see here. You need to know about bias in media. Why they have bias in media. We talked about this. We have bias in media because sometimes those journalists and people want to get a message across that is more inclined to what they believe, or they're trying to appease their audience. Okay, they're trying to appease their audience. You need to know what agenda setting is. We talked about that a lot. You need to know about narrowcasting, selective exposure. Definitely those types of things. How people, only want to watch media that is going along with their political beliefs. I used that example of Mrs. Clapper's stepmom, only watching Fox News. I mean, there's nothing wrong with only watching one network, but that's a perfect example of selective exposure. I already talked about narrowcasting. Trust in the government and media. We talked about that. You need to know that, obviously. One thing we didn't talk about before, and you might have had in your other class, what yellow journalism is. Basically, this is another way of saying, like, sensationalizing things, blowing things out of proportion. We have talked about blowing things out of proportion, but I didn't attach a vocab term. That'd be yellow journalism. We talked about press conferences. We talked about that. We talked about trial balloons, media events. Definitely need to know stuff like that. How the internet has affected media. We talked about that today in class. What does the media focus on during, like, for example, campaigning and stuff like that? I can talk about that in class, but it's pretty self-explanatory. Them focusing on the person. Let's see here. What else do we need to know? Trial balloons, I think I've already said that once. We talked about the FCC. Media events, I already mentioned that. And how the media is used by, like, members of Congress. And I can talk into greater detail about that, but please bring up questions during class. But again, it's very self-explanatory. I personally feel if you've been paying attention in class, I think you're going to do very, very well on this. A lot of this is common sense, looking at the questions on my other screen right now. So again, this was just a rundown. Please listen to this tonight. If you're hearing this right now, you already have listened to it. Come with questions tomorrow. Come with questions in class, and I will address all those. And the test will be Wednesday, and you'll do a great job. I will see you and talk to you tomorrow.